Men are often seen as the center of the world. That's what we usually hear. But Simone de Beauvoir argues that this very idea is a trap that makes men lose themselves. From childhood, men are not simply allowed to be. They are cast into a role before they can even speak it. They are the standard, the default, the reference point against which everything else is measured. And yet, this central position is not freedom. It's pressure, disguised as privilege. To be told that you are the axis of the world is not the same as being known. It means never being asked how you feel, only what you can do. It means admiration without intimacy, power without rest. Beauvoir didn't just question the place of women in society. She questioned the illusion of manhood itself. What does it mean to live your entire life performing an identity you didn't choose? What happens to the boy who is never permitted to be soft? To the man who is expected to know everything, fix everything, endure everything? She saw clearly. When society places a crown on your head, it rarely asks if your neck can bear the weight. Who is Simone de Beauvoir? In a world that hands out scripts before it teaches you how to speak, Simone de Beauvoir was a voice that tore through the silence. A French philosopher, writer, and one of the most influential feminist minds of the 20th century. But those labels only scratched the surface. What she offered wasn't just theory. It was a mirror held up not only to women, but to the entire machinery of identity, power, and performance. In 1949, she published The Second Sex, a work that shattered illusions. It revealed that femininity wasn't natural, it was constructed. But buried in that insight was another, more subtle truth. If womanhood is made, then so is manhood. Beauvoir, alongside her lifelong partner Jean-Paul Sartre, shaped existentialist thought, a philosophy centered on freedom, responsibility, and the anxiety of choice. She didn't believe we were born into essence. She believed we become who we are through how we live. Not by obeying roles, but by transcending them. And that is where her insight becomes revolutionary, not just for women, but for men. Because if identity is not given, but chosen, then the question becomes, what part of you is truly yours? And what part is just the costume you were handed? Shocking. Perspective on men. If a woman, as Beauvoir revealed, is made into the other, then man, paradoxically, is shaped as the absolute, the central figure, the default human, the universal mind. But what appears to be power is often a cage in disguise. Society does not simply admire men, it uses them. They are the ones expected to carry the burden of logic, decisiveness, and control. They are not just human, they are expected to embody reason itself. And yet in that role, something essential is quietly stripped away. To be a real man means to exile parts of the self, emotion, tenderness, uncertainty. Not because these things are weak, but because they are inconvenient to the myth of strength. So men learn to armor their hearts early, to speak in jokes instead of feelings, to dominate rather than connect, to fear softness like it's a threat to their existence. They're not taught to ask, "Who am I?" They're told who to be, and then punished for deviating. It's not freedom. It's a performance under surveillance, and even the applause can't cover the ache of never being fully known. Beauvoir's brilliance was in seeing this clearly. That manhood, too, is scripted. And when you are forced to live inside a script, even if the role looks powerful, you're still not free. The price of the ideal man. And the cost? It is not always loud. It doesn't explode. It erodes, like water slowly hollowing stone. When a man is taught to be unshakable, he becomes a stranger to his own softness. When he is praised for being emotionless, he learns to distrust intimacy. When he is told he must always have it together, he hides the very places that are falling apart. So what does that leave him with? Silence, but not peace. Isolation, but not solitude. A kind of quiet suffering, invisible even to himself. Many men carry pain the way others carry secrets, folded deep into the body, never spoken, never touched. Not because the pain isn't real, but because no one ever gave them the words. No one ever taught them how to bleed without shame. And beneath it all, there is a deeper fear that without the mask, they will vanish, that their worth is tied entirely to the role they perform, that if they stop performing, there will be nothing left. This is the cruel paradox of the ideal man. The more perfectly he plays the part, the further he drifts from who he truly is. And slowly, without ever noticing, he disappears. Real-life example. Picture him, a father, now in his late 60s, the kind of man who was always there, but never fully seen. He worked long hours, provided for his family. He never missed a mortgage payment. He taught his children to be disciplined, to be responsible. He never cried, even at funerals. He believed that love was shown through action, not words. And yet, as the years passed, the phone rang less often. Family dinners grew quiet, awkward. His children stopped sharing their inner world with him because they never learned how. He gave them everything except himself. They respected him, but they don't miss him. Not really, because they never knew him. And now, in the slow stillness of old age, he feels the weight of a life lived behind a mask. He did everything right, but something vital was lost. He can't put it into words because the language of connection, of softness, was never one he was allowed to learn. This story isn't unique. It plays out in countless homes, different faces, same silence. It's not a failure of character. It's the result of a cultural script that teaches men how to perform, but never how to be human. It's a quiet epidemic, one that leaves no scars, only distance. Existentialist Analysis. At the heart of existentialism lies a quiet, unsettling truth. Existence precedes essence. Simone de Beauvoir echoed this principle, not just in theory, but in the intimate terrain of human identity. You are not born with a fixed purpose. You are not a label, not a role. You become who you are through the choices you make, the risks you take, the truths you dare to live. But what happens when you're never given that choice? From the moment they can walk, many boys are handed a costume, not a path. Be a provider, be strong, be fearless, be in control. And if you stray from this script, you risk being dismissed, shamed, abandoned. This, Beauvoir recognized, is not just a women's issue. It is a human issue. Men, too, are forced into essence, into a shape that was carved before they were old enough to speak. They are not asked who they are told. And so, slowly, they forget to ask the question at all. This is not freedom. It is a quiet, socially accepted form of imprisonment, a life of performance where every moment must align with an image, and every crack in that image feels like failure. Beauvoir's insight was radical because it pierced the illusion from both sides. Just as women were made the other, men were made into symbols, unfeeling, invulnerable, ideal. But symbols don't breathe, and roles don't love. To live authentically, a man must first recognize he was never truly free until he chooses to become himself. How can men be liberated? Liberation doesn't begin with rebellion. It begins with recognition. The first step is not breaking free, it's seeing the bars. Understanding that the identity you've been performing isn't fate, it's programming. A script passed down through generations, polished by culture, enforced by silence, celebrated, even as it quietly suffocates. To be free, a man must unlearn the myth. He must look in the mirror, not to assess strength, but to ask, what parts of me have I hidden just to be accepted? He must reclaim the words that were taken from him. I don't know. I'm afraid. I need help. I feel alone. These aren't weaknesses. They are the roots of real strength. Because true power is not in control. It's in honesty. The kind that strips away pretense and lets you stand, not as a symbol, but as a soul. Men must stop striving to be ideal. Because the ideal is a hollow statue. It demands worship, but offers no life. Instead, they must rediscover what was buried, the full, imperfect, aching, feeling human beneath the armor. To live not from a role, but from truth. And in that truth, freedom begins. So now we return to the question behind the silence. Are men truly free, or are they simply moving inside a larger invisible cage? A cage shaped not by steel, but by praise, by expectation, by centuries of quiet enforcement. A cage that looks like respect, sounds like authority, feels like power, but underneath is hollow. Ask yourself, what part of your life is chosen, and what part is inherited without question? Is your masculinity a reflection of your truth, or a mask you've worn for so long you forgot there was a face beneath it? True freedom isn't found in dominance. It isn't found in perfection, or performance, or control. It begins the moment you stop pretending. The moment you sit in your own skin, vulnerable, uncertain, open, and decide to live from there. To be a man is not to be untouched by fear or sadness. It is to hold them without shame, to feel deeply without apology, to love without needing armor. Because real strength is not the absence of emotion, it's the presence of a soul still willing to feel in a world that taught it not to. If this spoke to something quiet inside you, don't keep it there. Share it, let it breathe. Because there are men out there who've been silently carrying the weight of perfection for too long. Men who've never been told that they're allowed to feel, allowed to break, allowed to be more than the image they were handed. They deserve more than silent endurance. They deserve the truth. They deserve to feel, to be seen, not just as strong, but as real. And we all, regardless of gender, deserve to live in a world where being fully human is finally enough.